Well, hello there, and welcome to Fruit for Four, a podcast hosted by Custom OWC. And my name is Yaze. I am one of the hosts for this talk with the German OWC team, and I'm joined by Satura. How are you
Hello,
doing
that's
today?
me. I'm great. What about you?
I am well.
That's good.
Just chilling.
Yeah, that's the
Sunday
right
afternoon.
attitude. Get the right attitude in. Nice.
And we are joined by 5 members of the German OWC team. We have Dust Ice, Firstus, Imagak, Nelio, and Shiratu. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing
I'm
fine.
good today. Despite losing to Austria before, I mean, we kind of anyway got the group win, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, you guys played really well this weekend, so I congratulate you for making it to the round of 16.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll start off with our first question. This is for everyone in the channel. So, who are you, and what is your OWC history? So, how did you play? How did you start playing OWC? How did you get to know everyone in the team, and just a general kind of who are you, basically. So we'll start with Dust Ice.
Yeah, so my name is Dust Ice, but I guess now I'm more known as Dustis, and I used to care that it's pronounced Dust Ice a few years back, but now it's kind of, it's Dustis anyway. And I started playing in 2011 when a classmate of mine back then introduced me to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And since 2012, I've been playing in OWC every year for Germany. And
Nice.
the roster back then was completely, it was every player is new, except for me. Since then, we replaced everyone because everyone stopped playing. It's kind of a bit sad, but I'm quite good friends with a lot of people in the roster, especially first is Imagak and Nelia.
Nice.
Got to know them from a tournament we signed up to. It was a community tournament, and they kind of asked me if I want to participate too, and Imagak and Firstus were participating as well, and we've already met twice in the past year, so yeah, I kind of know them pretty good.
And we'll go on to Imagak. So
Yeah, well, I don't think I need to say my name again. I started playing this game. I forgot when and I forgot how exactly I started playing this. Maybe I watched a YouTube video or something and thought it was fun. But ever since then, I've been basically playing songs I like and getting better through that. I've never really focused that much on improving special skills. And that just so happens to be a good practice for tournaments and stuff, because you play a lot of different maps and such. So I rather early on decided to play a lot of tournaments and got to know most of the teammates in here through that, which I'm quite happy about. They're all good friends, and I think we'll do fine this year, just like last year, with a few additions to the team. I don't think we've gotten a worse roster compared to last year, but definitely different players. So I'm really looking forward to this tournament.
And Shiratu, do you want to give some of your?
Sure. I started playing back in 2012, so I'm playing for over 5 years now. I started playing because I found out about us in a forum and just gave it a try and basically been around since then. I had a few breaks for a few months sometimes, but basically never really dropped it. I know some people from the team, well, know all, but I've been friends with some because I've played earlier tournaments already with, I think it was Nelio, Firstus, and Karami. And yeah, that's how I know some of them.
All right. That's pretty nice. Okay. So out of the people that we're covering today, you, Shiratu, are the only guy that's not been in a World Cup before. How do you feel about this? Are you excited about the tournament?
Well, of course I'm excited, but I'm really happy to be able to play in the World Cup. And for the matches, I'm actually way calmer than I expected to be. Like, I expected to be shaking so much, but it's actually surprisingly good.
I know, it's, can be quite pressureful to, be representing a nation and then participate in the World Cup. Yeah, it's quite tense, but good to know that, it's not posing too much of pressure.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason is probably that you're in connection with your teammates, and for that I'd like to ask the team captain, how is the chemistry between you and the rest of the team, or the rest of the team between each other?
No, I think it is pretty good. Last year and the years before that, we kind of had a bit of a problem. I don't know if you remember, in 2015 we had all this drama with Captain Exon, who was the captain back then, leaving the team, and then we had kind of no captain, and I needed to step in, and then he came back and he wanted to play again, and so on. And last year we had a bit of a problem with attendance. We had a lot of players in our team who didn't quite grasp that OWC is not just for the fun of it, and so we decided that this year we wanted everyone to attend, and so we have an attendance list this year, and everyone's been doing good for group stages, I feel, and that's kind of nice. I feel really good about this year's roster.
Yeah, that's a good way of tracking, making sure that everybody's, or at least as many people as in need, are always there for the games. That's a very good way of keeping attendance in the tournament as well. And so you're saying that you had problems with previous teams because they didn't take the tournament as serious as you do right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, so I'm pretty confident that your team right now doesn't oppose those issues.
Yes. We actually had, this year was the first match in this group stage, was the first match I ever played on a German team, and I've been playing for 5 years now, that all the 8 people we had on the roster were there for a match.
Wow, all of them were on the bench?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's
impressive. Yeah, with 8 players, that's a lot of people.
That's pretty good, I think, yes. And it was actually that way for all the matches, for all 3 matches this weekend. It worked.
Yeah, I think that's commemorable. Like, you should keep that up, that's really good.
I will try.
Nice. Okay, so we've talked about Shirato being the new guy on the team, and that struck the question to me: how did you choose Shirato? Did you just sign up, or did you have any kind of procedure to get him into your team?
So we had this guy called Easy, who arranges German tournaments, and he kind of came up with the idea that we could hold a tournament that was for qualifying for the OWC team for Germany. And we had me, Imagek Niliel, and Prestis.
The guys from the team, yeah.
Yes, we were map pool selectors for that tournament. And we could make the map pools in a way that kind of would complete our roster for OWC, so we could see who might fit and who wouldn't fit as well, maybe.
Oh, very smart.
And pretty much the 3 guys that are rookies this year all were chosen because they did well in that tournament.
So the tournament was the most defining factor there.
Yeah,
that is correct. Actually, I can maybe say this now. You weren't that far off. You weren't that far off to make it into the team.
I know. I wanted to keep it a secret, but well, I tried.
I wanted to add really quick. Give a little shout out to Duftende Pizza, another German player who actually won this tournament, but refused to participate due to timing issues with school and stuff. So I just wanted to give him a shout out at this point, because he would have been on the team had he the time to play.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, and also great sportsmanship to let other people participate in the World Cup instead of himself, instead of claiming that spot and never attending. I think it's a very smart move, so yeah, shout outs to Duftende Pizza for that decision.
Do you guys feel like you have strengths and certain weaknesses? And if so, could you give me some of those strengths and weaknesses that you feel that you might have?
So, the German team's best strength used to be in the past years double time. It was not so much last year the case, but the years before that, it was always double time for the German team, which almost always worked. We almost always won that. And since last year, where we had the biggest roster change I think we ever had, like Firstus and Imagek were new in that roster, and then we suddenly had really good setup for Hard Rock, and we almost always won Hard Rock maps last year, and this year it's kind of the same. Hard Rock is, I think, our biggest strength, and we also kind of stepped up in our double time game. So I think Hard Rock and double time definitely are our biggest strength. And for the weaknesses is, the biggest weakness in past years was always the tech stuff, the alternate stuff. But this year that is actually gotten better, because Firstus and me learned how to alternate, and we also got two of our rookies who are really good at alternating in the team. That is also part of the reason why Shirato is in here. And so that is not much of a problem anymore. But it's still kind of the techie hidden stuff that is not as good as we like to have it.
Do you feel like playing in a lot of tournaments? Because I always see you guys, you and Firstus and Imagak and Eliu, basically like in a lot of tournaments. Do you feel like playing in a lot of tournaments has helped you with certain skill sets like tech stuff, AR8 hidden, Hard Rock, double time, and tiebreakers that have generally been more tech based recently? Do you feel like that's kind of helped you in building up your strengths for OWC?
In a way, that is correct, but more of in an indirect way, because you might want to learn different skill sets because you are playing in a lot of tournaments, and so you don't have to learn the maps really hard when they come up. So that is kind of true, I guess.
Okay.
But also in in team tournaments, it's not quite that way, because the teams Firstus and I played in most of the time were teams where we didn't have to play that techie stuff. We had other people for that.
Okay. All right. And your opponent for the round of 16 is...
It's Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark.
Yeah. How do you feel about playing against Denmark? Because they did play very well against the US. I think, was it the US? I can't remember.
No, I think
They had
Yes.
Australia and Poland in their team.
That's
I
it.
think.
Do you think they did play very well against Poland? Do you feel like that's gonna hinder you in some stores?
I already looked at their group stage performance, and it was pretty good. But I think we still should have the upper hand, because the maps now have gotten a lot harder, and it's most of the time it's more difficult for lower ranked players to do well on difficult maps. But I never saw them play on those maps, so I can't be sure about that.
Okay. And how do you feel about the round of 16 map? Or would you change anything about it? Or...
Well, so I've gotten to that already, that our weakness is the techie hidden stuff. And in this map pool, where we only have 2 hidden maps, both of those hidden maps are techie or kind of gimmicky. So we have one AR8 old map, which actually isn't that bad, because I think we can get 4 players who can play that. But the other hidden map, it's kind of a techie reading map also. And we would have liked maybe a more standard hidden map, so that we have players like Beerfall in our team who can really shine on those standard hidden maps.
And how do the other players feel about it? Do you, mainly Shirato and Imagak, how do you guys feel about it?
Well, I was quite happy with it, because there is 2 pretty tough hard rock maps in there, which is pretty much my best mod and my favorite mod too. Also, the double time maps are not that fast, which is kind of a weakness that I have, so I can still play those, as well as most of the no mod maps. I only have one major complaint, and that is the Pishifed map in this pool. For some reason, I can't get my head around his maps, and that might be my biggest problem. Like these kind of maps that Pishi does, it's just not for me. I don't know why. But other than that, I really like this map pool.
Yeah, for me it's like I really like the Nomad pool, except for the Pishifat map, for the same reason as Kagami. I really like that Ninelai and Blue Pig, because they are technical stuff and I really like to play it. Also Kion Wake Kids, because alternate maps, I love them. For the other mods, well, I'm kind of surprised that the free mod map is higher BPM than both double time maps, but I guess that's fine.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's a weird mix-up. I agree there. I'd like to stick with the topic of map pools because that's my favorite topic. The impression I got from most of the teams featured in the World Cup, well, the majority said that the first map pool was kind of boring. Would you share that opinion with the other teams?
Well, not necessarily. I didn't really feel like it was boring. There were a lot of fun to play maps. They weren't necessarily the hardest maps, but they were fun and they were fitting for a tournament, which is, I think, the most important part. A lot of people usually complain that these maps are too easy and thus favor lowered seeded teams, which I definitely agree it's a problem that tournaments have, but I think it's necessary. And I do not feel like this map pool was too easy. And yeah, that's basically my opinion on it. I like the map pool. I think it was well done. It was a very good map pool. Better than every other map pool I've seen in OWC so far. And that's all I've got to say.
Alright. I want to involve Shirato here too. Let's compare this to the Tiger World Cup. The map pool selectors of that tournament, they consciously decided to make the first map pool really hard. Like the peak, I think, was 7.1 stars, and the lowest was 6.5. Do you personally think that this would be a good move to pull off in the World Cup for the group stage?
I mean, for the lower seeded teams, I guess it would be kind of hard for the beginning, especially if they play against the high and top seeded teams. They would probably just get crushed. But I'm a bit split about it. Like, I can see why easier maps are a good thing, but I can also understand the players who want hard maps to also already start in group stage.
Alright.
But since I'm more consistency guy, I'm actually fine with the easier maps first.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Can I say something real quick
of course,
to this?
Please go ahead. Yes.
So I think the topic of easy or hard maps in groups is pretty clear that in group stage the maps should be easy as long as it doesn't go to egg battle every time. So 4 FCs against 4 FCs, you can't really complain that the maps are too easy if not everyone on your team FCs them. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Just a comparison here in OHC, which was actually more stacked with teams than OWC, I would say.
It was a recent tournament, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a very recent tournament. And in there was like one very hard map in the group stage pool, and everything else was way easier than it was this year's OWC. Way easier. It was like not even 5 stars.
Was it like an extra difficulty pool?
Yeah, it was. I think the maps were like 4.7 stars, 4.8 stars, most of them. And there was a talent shredder in there, which was the by far hardest map in the pool, but that was kind of the only one. So I think the group stage pool this year for OWC is very well balanced. It's much better than the years before that. Much better.
Also, I've got something else to add to that.
Yes, please.
I've seen certain people complain that they've lost to randomness or in egg battles or as such, and thus go out. I'm not gonna name anyone, obviously. That would just be stupid. But I've checked most of their matches, and in the end, it came down to they did lose a bunch of maps on accuracy, but also they would have won most of their matches had they have more SCs on the other maps. Like, there were people that just didn't FC. They always had only like 2 or 1 FC on the map. And in the end, I think if you're gonna complain that the map pool is too easy, you should FC every map in the pool. And if you can't do that, then obviously, yeah, that's a shit miss, that's bad luck. But it's still, the other team deserves to win if they are the more consistent team, if they can FC the maps. And I think some of the complaints were just outright stupid, but some were also justified. So it's kind of, it's a very, very tough thing to properly decide on.
I think
Alright, that's fair criticism.
I
Sorry.
think what like some early pools is mainly to test consistency and how well you can play on easier maps. And when people complain that map pools are too easy, that they mean that they should have a really harder pool so people can miss more. Do you feel like that's not the case in that sort? Do you feel like there's the easier pool should be, well, the earlier round should be more consistency based more than more?
Yes, in a way, I think it would be fairer to the overall players, like if the map pool was harder, because the people who are really good at this game are gonna outperform the slightly lower ranked players on harder maps, obviously, every single time. Like a stacked team of, I don't know, the top 4 players like Rafis, Kukizi, Angelsim, whoever, if they play on a 7-star map pool, they're gonna beat every other team every single time, basically. Like maybe with a very few exceptions. And that would be fairer overall to the skill of the players. But in perspective, that would be boring. Like if the map pool was too hard, the slightly worse seeded teams for this stage wouldn't have as much fun playing this. It would be boring to watch. There's just so many downsides to doing that it isn't worth it.
Right, it would be monotonous, like it's almost already decided before the match starts, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I have that feeling as well.
Actually, a solution to this, which can't be realized because then there will be way too many matches, is that the 2 lower teams that finished 3rd and 4th in their group also advance, but they advance in the losers bracket. And they have to play against the 3rd. The 4th has to play the 3rd from another group. And then that team faces the loser of the round of 16 winners bracket. So that kind of would mean every team would get to play the round of 16 pool. So no team could be fucked over by a easy group stage pool, but they kind of get a disadvantage if they do bad on it. That would be a solution, but it's way too many matches then.
Yeah, it's very time consumptive. I agree there, but it's a nice idea that you got. I'd like to carry on here because we've been ranting about that first map pool for way too long and the ideas of what was going to happen if we increase the difficulty. I'd rather like to move on to the next map pools because we had that round of 16 map pool in comparison to the first one. Do you think that they carried over the balance that we got from that first map pool into the round of 16 map pool? I'd like to involve everybody here.
I think it's overall balanced. It's a decent map pool. I don't like it as much as the first one, because as I think Dust has already pointed out, the hidden pool is very one-sided on reading.
I see.
And I think the double time pool as well. I felt like the double time pool is kind of favoring the all-round players more rather than the speed or double time players, because it's like this. I think it's a 190 BPM and 220 or something. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They're not that fast, are they?
They are pretty slow, and we have a 230 BPM map in the free mod pool, so I feel like it's less balanced than the first map pool. It's still a good pool overall, but just not as good overall.
I see.
So I also think the map pool in a whole is pretty well balanced, but the second thing you have to look at is, are the mods in themselves balanced? So in the first pool, it was like the hidden pool was also balanced. It has like one reading map and one pretty standard map.
I see.
The hard rock pool was pretty balanced, as it has one easier map that was kind of accuracy, consistency, and one like pretty heavy aim and patterns. And the double time pool was also one more tapping intensive. The vulture was more like double finger control, and super fun is more like aim weird patterns. But the round of
Okay.
16 pool is not so much balanced in their mods, as hidden is not well balanced and double time. And it's hard to do if you have only 2 maps for each pool. I know that it's probably impossible for the later rounds, but I think it's still a bit sad. Maybe they should change that. They have only 2 maps for each mod. I mean,
Oh,
no
that's
other
a good
tournament
thought.
does that. No other tournament does that. I don't know why OWC does it.
Hmm.
Do you feel like there's not many skill sets kind of interpreted in that's the map pools that OWC does? Because obviously there's 6 no mods and 2 for each mod apart from free mod and then the tiebreaker. Do you feel like there's not much variety in terms of what skill sets there could be used in each mod?
I think the No More pool is well rounded in that it focuses on different skill sets, like Nine Lie with a heavy slider aim, and the Sumi Da something map, which is purely jumps, the Huron Heykits alternating, and the Gensono Satellite fast tapping.
Mhm.
It's well rounded overall. It's kind of a shame that you do not have the option to exploit other weaknesses, other teams' weaknesses, or your own strengths. In that, there's only, for example, if we have a well-rounded hard rock lineup, like Dusty said, there's only 2 hard rock maps in the pool, and the enemy can ban one of them, so there's only 1 hard rock map left, and that's
Yeah.
just kind of unfortunate. I think it's, well, it does force more variety into the team, so you have to be prepared for all kinds of different stuff, I think, and that is
see.
fine. But it's also, I think it's a little over the top to only have 2 mod picks. I think there should be 3 at least.
Yeah, that would make more sense, and you could elaborate on your strengths in the team that would, well, help you out with balancing the results. I agree there. I think there should be a little bit more variety to test more skill sets in every single mode. It is possible. We've seen it in other tournaments. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential to that map pool being changed. And speaking of potential, I'd like to direct this question to Shiratu. You are more of a a technical player. You like it well balanced and well, kind of tricky in no mod, for example. How do you think should the map pool progress from the round of 16 to the finals?
Well, if I had to say it from a personal perspective, I'd really like to see even more technical maps, but
Obviously.
obviously that's not really a good idea overall.
Okay.
I don't really know how they're going to increase the difficulty, because I mean it was a kind of huge jump already from group stage to 1 of 16.
Oh, do you feel so?
Yeah, I kind of feel so.
Okay, if I compare Tweaker and Nine Lie, okay, I can see that jump pretty clearly. Do you have any idea how they could manage to differentiate the maps in a way that they cover the same amount of skill sets while still being harder? Do you have any maps in mind, maybe?
Not really. I mean, there are really hard technical maps with all those slider changes and space stream stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for normal maps, well, you can only do so much as to increase length of streams or do higher jumps. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a more generalized approach. Do you think it would make sense to include unranked maps?
For OWC, I don't think for OWC there should actually be unranked maps. I know there are quite a lot of good unranked maps, but they should actually stay in community tournaments, in my opinion.
I see. Yeah, fair enough. Imagak, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I had a little thing towards the scaling of the difficulty of the map pools.
Please do.
I think it's kind of tough. Like, I'm not usually one to insult or to make my criticism towards the map pools official. It's just, usually I get the impression that the map pool selectors, which are well-known community members overall, but they're mappers. They're not really that skilled of players, and they do not compete in tournaments. And usually I think that makes it a little hard on them to judge difficulties and to properly scale a map pool in terms of difficulty so that it stays well-rounded as well as being harder than the previous map pool. And I think that's a problem that we had in last OWC finals map pool especially. I think there was just it was a very unbalanced map pool. It was so focused on technical proficiency, if you wanted to put it that way. There was like, I think the baby metal map, the chocolate one, was the only really mechanical map in terms of like being fast or something for the nomad pool. It was just, I don't think it was a well-rounded pool. It didn't test all the skills. It favored technical players, and that's not something that players that mappers can really do if they're not very good at this game. And that is the one major problem that I have with the way OWC map pools are created.
I really love that point, yeah. I think that including players into the map pool selectors and not just mappers gives a lot more of an insight on what these people that compete, i.e. you, have to, well, put to the test during the tournament. And to represent that, it should be in the map pool in a way that, well, every map of the pool and every mod of the pool represents different skill sets. And I think as well that if you include players there, that they will do a much better job at regulating this sort of diversity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add. Huh?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Well, if you would include players in map pool selecting, you'd actually have to make sure that they are like
Not
totally unbiased towards any country, which can't really know it's a bit of a problem.
I completely agree. Also, especially with OWC, it's really, really hard to find players that are skilled at the game and that know about maps, and that do, additionally to that, do not participate in the tournament. So I absolutely get that it is really hard to pull off, and I don't even know if it's possible. It's just something that I would think is a better way of doing it.
Yeah, true.
So I would like to add something to the topic of unranked maps, if that is okay.
Of course, yes. We've got extra time.
So I actually myself realized it's almost undoable for the later stages of a tournament to go without unranked maps and still test every skill set, because
that's exactly what I was thinking. Please go on.
So if you decide to only go with ranked maps, it gets really, really hard to find maps for the later stages. I mean, as I said, we had this German tournament that was to determine who was going to play in our team.
Yes.
And we made the map pool for that, and it was kind of easy going for the first 2-3 rounds. And after that, we were like, damn, there are actually not many maps left that we can pick that are actually good for the difficulty in the map pool, but also testing of every skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think in the earlier rounds you can go without unranked maps, but the later the rounds get, you should put unranked maps to test every skill set still, because the maps that tend to get ranked for the harder side of the map pools are almost always mechanical maps.
Yeah. What I'm thinking here is that due to the more lenient change of the ranking criteria in maps, or mapping if you want, I think it will become a little bit easier in the future to include ranked maps that are hard enough for later stages. But this change has kind of just begun this year. Like, this year's been crazy when it comes to mapping. I'm sure you would agree there too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think my thought was to include unranked maps because they have a little bit more diversity while still or maybe the same diversity, but while still being harder than your average rank map because of that ranking criteria not having changed for so long. And now, since it's being opened, I think that they have also opened a couple paths to some maps getting ranked that are harder and still have that same coverage of those skill sets for the pools. So, one more question towards this topic. Do you think that with the more open and less strict ranking criteria of maps while in mapping, do you think that the map pools will be easier to be created with ranked sets, or do you think that if the maps aren't going to change too much, if they should still refer to those unranked maps that Dust Dice was talking about?
So it will definitely be easier to create map pools that are only consistent of ranked maps, but I still think if you have an unranked map that is the better option, you should still pick that map for the map pool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Any other person that wants to touch on that topic? Otherwise, I think we're good with that.
I think I 99% agree with Justice on this. While I do think they should try to keep it on ranked maps for as long and as much as they can, just because it's basically their criteria for good maps, so they should stick with their criteria for good maps to make map pools for their tournaments, in like the community management, basically the mapping management. I think that's all on Logturf, not that I'm blaming him for anything. Or I think just he manages all of this, and I think he has to make do with what he wants to do. So he should try to keep it to ranked maps for as long as he can. But at later stages, as it is right now, there is no option to not have unranked maps in the map pool, as there were last year, I think, with Yaku, Yogami, and some other stuff.
Wait, have there been unranked maps?
Yeah, there was a cryo, the cryo map last year. There was, and also I think one of the hard rock maps, Tsukitoro, by Jonathan, was also unranked at the time.
Okay.
It is ranked now, but it was unranked while it was in OWC.
Also, the hidden map Katanov was also unranked.
Yeah, exactly, that one as well.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. They did include them, and I think they did good in including them. It was a good decision. You do not have the option to include maps that are ranked because there's just not maps available that would fit the map pool. And you cannot get around it right now, so you either have to change the ranking criteria or keep on including these kind of unranked maps into the pool. And yeah, in my opinion, they should change the ranking system so that it accommodates, but it's their decision and I'll go along with it.
Okay, it's quite deep, going into mapping there. Yeah, very interesting. I'm also looking forward to seeing specific maps for the tournament in unranked fashion, like off-ranked fashion. Yeah, I completely agree with you there, and I've got one question towards that. Do you remember when or in what stage those unranked maps came into the map pools?
It was only finals, I think.
No. I think no. There was one in the semifinals too. It was a hidden map as well.
It was?
Oh.
Yeah, there was a...
Which one?
I think Katanov was the final map, and then there was a very similar song. I don't remember the name. Saigo or something?
Saigo is ranked, is it not?
I don't think it was ranked at the time, but I'm not sure on that.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I think it was qualified, now that I think about it.
Qualified?
It had a leaderboard, if I remember correctly.
I just remembered that I saw it somewhere and I didn't remember it as ranked, so... Whatever. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me.
I'm not too sure either. But okay. Yeah.
It was ranked in November, so it might be.
Maybe it was ranked exactly for OWC or something.
Oh yeah. Maybe that was the plan all along.
Okay.
Okay. I'll be quiet now.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to direct that question to Shiratu and then close up with that with this topic. So, how do you think about our rank maps? Oh wait, did we cover this with you? I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So much for that.
All right. How far do you feel like you're gonna get into this tournament? Do you feel like, because you've got a new roster and everything, there's 3 people that are new, do you feel like you're gonna get really far? How far do you think you're gonna get?
So last year we got 5th, 6th. The year before that we also did that. So I think it will be a good prediction if I go with 5th and 6th this year again. I think we won't do worse, but we probably also won't do better because there are teams that are way better than us in this tournament.
And how do the others feel? Do you feel like you agree with that, or do you feel like you're gonna get further in?
I can't really say too much about this, but I guess it's pretty. Yeah, I actually agree with Dustis there.
Okay. Imagak, do you want to share some insight in that?
Would you mind repeating the question?
I was just asking about how far you guys would get into OWC. How far do you think you'll get into before?
Yeah, I think looking at the brackets as they are right now, we are facing South Korea potentially in the quarterfinals, like last year. So that's kind of scary, and I'm not entirely sure if we will win against them. But I think we have a pretty good shot this year. Obviously, China being out already is a huge boost to the confidence for every single team, I guess. Also, I think with France, another top seed being out, that's just it makes you more optimistic
It puts you at ease.
about your chances. It puts you at ease. Yeah, thank you. Exactly. And I think we have a good shot at getting further than last year. I think last year was 5th to 6th place that we got.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a decent shot getting farther than that, but I'd like to at least get that far this year, as it's my personal goal, and I think everyone else on the team agrees with me on that. So yeah.
All right, and our final question of the interview is: if you guys could put your top 3 teams, or top 5, let's say top 5, who would you put in your top 5 and why?
So I'm actually going to do top 3 here. Is that okay?
No, that's fine. No worries. Go ahead.
So my prediction for win this year is South Korea. I think they are way stronger than last year and probably also way stronger than every other team in the tournament. They have so insane tournament players, like Pring is just so insane, and Young as well. And they have also this lower ranked player called Gomo. I don't remember the other name.
Gomo, yeah.
Yes, he's also really good. I actually only faced him once this year, I think, but he destroyed in that match. It was insane. And so I think they're going to get first. Second is going to be USA. They have a really strong roster this year again, much like last year. And I think third will go to UK this year.
Okay. Imagak and Shiratu, do you have anything to...
Yeah, I agree. I think USA versus South Korea will be the finals. I am not gonna pick a winner here. I really like both teams. They're really strong. And other than that, UK, very strong lineup this year, as well as top 5 is with UK. I think we have a shot getting top 5 this year. A pretty good shot. We have a strong team. Also, Poland is really strong in terms of names. I'm not sure how they're gonna perform as a team, but their overall names, like obviously Rafis Wolf, Wilchku, very strong, very well-known players. They have a very good shot this year, but still I think USA and Korea are just on a different level.
Yeah, I can only agree with those two. Like UK, USA, and South Korea are definitely up the top places. I could actually imagine Netherlands or Hong Kong, I don't know, actually getting pretty far. They do have strong teams, but I'm not too sure about that. Yeah,
Okay.
can't really say much else.
That's very interesting. And do you have any players to watch out for? Do you feel like there are some players on a team that you feel like could hinder your chances of winning? I know Dust Dice mentioned people from South Korea such as Yaong and Pring and Prey and Gomo as well. Do you guys have any?
That lineup is just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
I think those 4, including Angel Sim, obviously, that is simply ridiculous. The entire team of USA fits the description as well, I think, with Toy being obviously the most proficient of them, as well as Itke, if you look at last year's OWC.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure on Digital Hypno. I haven't really seen him play. I've not been watching many of the tournaments. I think he was participating in a lot of them. I just don't know how he played himself, but the rest of the USA team is definitely well known and scary too. And
Okay.
yeah, I already talked about the players on Poland. Obviously, everyone knows them. But I think the one player to really watch out for, especially in a semi-final and final map pools, is Bubble Man, because I think
Yes, I was going to mention this.
if he has a good day, he is the best player, the best tournament player that is participating in OWC. No doubt about that for me. And yeah, that's it.
And
So about Bubbleman, I was going to say here, I faced him this one match where we faced them in grand finals, the team he was on, and he just destroyed our entire team on his own. Like, we couldn't do anything. He was too good. He had steal almost every single map, and we had Cookiesy on our team. It was just so insane. If that guy has this good day, then no team has a chance.
yeah, I can agree that Bobbleman is a beast at tournaments when he has a really good day. Sharatu, do you have any more players you'd like to mention to watch out for?
Not really. I can only agree with Dusty there.
All right, and I think that is all of our questions for this podcast. Do you guys have any shout-outs that you would like to say?
Well, I gave one to Dufne Pizza earlier, obviously, for our tournament thingy. But I wanted to shout out the Malaysian team as a whole. Obviously, one of our enemies in the group stage, the unseeded team. I don't think they got streamed on the channel, on the Also Live channel, a single time. But they had an amazing performance against us. We still won 5-1, but that was a way closer match than it sounds. And they beat Austria 5-2, which is an amazing feat in its own. So I wanted to give them a shout out for really playing well, especially against us. And that's about it for me.
I would also like to shout out Festus and Nelia, who are in this channel but too shy to talk.
Wow!
Wow.
Hey, that's me.
All right, and Sharatu, do you have any more shout-outs or?
Well, I would just actually like to shout out to Dufne Pizza too, because of him not playing, I was able to get into the team.
Oh, that's so cute.
Heartwarming. That's
And
cute.
also I'm kind of friends with him, so yeah.
All
That's
right.
nice.
All right, and I think that is the end of our podcast. I'd like to say thank you to the members from the German OWC team for coming on. I hope you all had a fantastic time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks
Again,
for inviting.
it's all right. Again, sub to our YouTube channel, which is German OWC. Follow the Twitch, and there'll be more interviews from different OWC teams to come. So stick around. Thanks for the podcast, guys.
Take care.